Let me tell you something straight from the heart. There comes a day in your life when you realize you've been carrying too much. Too many opinions, too much judgment, too much noise from people who were never cheering for you to begin with. You see, toxic people, oh, they come in all shapes and sizes. Some smile in your face and cut you behind your back. Some drain your energy without you even noticing. Some make you question your worth, your dreams, your very identity. And one day you wake up and you say to yourself, enough. That's the moment right there when everything begins to change. But here's the thing, change doesn't happen because you wish it. It doesn't happen because you post a motivational quote or say a little prayer. It starts when you decide, with every fiber in your being, that you will no longer tolerate what is poisoning your spirit. That decision isn't loud. It doesn't always come with fireworks. It's often quiet, like a whisper in your soul saying, I deserve better. And I'll tell you why this decision is so powerful. Because toxic people feed on your permission. Every time you let that comment slide, every time you shrink yourself to make them comfortable, every time you ignore the red flags because you don't want to make things awkward, you are teaching them how to treat you. You're telling them it's okay, you can keep crossing the line, but the day you decide you're done, that's the day the game changes. Now deciding what you will no longer tolerate doesn't start with them, it starts with you. It starts with looking in the mirror and asking yourself some hard questions. Why have I let this behavior go on for so long? Why do I keep giving people access to me when all they do is take? Those questions hurt. They cut deep, but sometimes the truth hurts before it sets you free. I remember talking to a young man once, talented, hard-working, full of potential, but he was surrounded by people who laughed at his dreams, who told him he was reaching too high. He kept letting their words get inside his head. One day I asked him, why do you keep handing your peace over to people who never paid the price to build it? And he just stood there, quiet. That's when it hit him. He was the one leaving the door open. He was the one allowing the storms to walk right in. Listen to me. Deciding what you will no longer tolerate is an act of self-respect. It doesn't mean you're better than anyone. It doesn't mean you walk around angry, cutting people off left and right. No, it means you finally understand your value. You realize your energy, your time, your mental peace, they are expensive. And not everybody can afford the price of admission into your life. And once you make that decision, here's the beauty, you don't even have to announce it. You don't have to post it online. People will feel it. They will sense the shift in you. Because when you respect yourself, your boundaries speak louder than words. The calls you used to answer at midnight, suddenly you let them go to voicemail. The drama you used to get pulled in, to suddenly you walk away. The arguments you used to lose sleep over. Suddenly, they don't even tempt you anymore. And yes, some people won't like this new version of you. They'll call you distant, cold, even selfish. But understand this. The people who benefit from your lack of boundaries will always see your growth as a threat. That's not your problem. That's theirs. The moment you decide what you will no longer tolerate, you send a message to yourself and to the world that your peace matters, that your dreams matter, that your life is not a playground for other people's chaos. And let me tell you, the people who truly love you, who truly respect you, will adjust. They'll honor that boundary because they value you. The rest, they'll fade away, and you'll realize they were only there because you left the door open too long. This first step, it's not easy. It requires courage. It requires looking at the patterns in your life and admitting the truth that sometimes the hardest person to say no more to is yourself. But when you finally do it, when you finally decide what you will no longer tolerate, you create the space for peace, for growth, for the right people to walk in. And that, my friend, is the beginning of everything. When you've decided what you will no longer tolerate, the next step is to build something inside you that no storm can shake, no critic can break, and no toxic voice can reach. Because here's the truth: when you draw boundaries, when you finally start saying no, the world doesn't clap for you right away. No, it tests you. People push back. They get louder. They try to drag you back into the mess you walked away from. That's why you need an inner strength so deep, so steady, that no amount of noise on the outside can drown out your peace on the inside. Now, inner strength isn't about acting tough. It's not about walking around like nothing affects you. That's just a mask, and masks always crack. Real inner strength is quiet, but unshakable. It's the kind of strength that allows you to stay calm when others lose their minds, to stay kind when others are cruel, to stay focused when distractions come knocking. It's built day by day, choice by choice, in the small moments nobody sees. I remember a story about a young woman who was trying to build a business while taking care of her sick mother. Her so-called friends told her she was crazy for even trying. They mocked her dreams, called her selfish for wanting more. But every morning, before the sun came up, she sat alone with her thoughts. She prayed. She wrote in her journal. She reminded herself who she was and why she was doing this. And slowly, something powerful started growing inside her. A strength that no insult, no doubt, no betrayal could touch. By the time her business finally took off, the people who tried to break her couldn't even recognize her anymore. Because she had built herself from the inside out. That's what I'm talking about. When you build unshakable inner strength, you stop depending on people's approval to feel whole. You stop begging toxic people to understand you, to validate you, to clap for you. Because here's the secret: when your worth comes from within, their opinions lose their power. They can talk, they can laugh, they can roll their eyes, but you just keep moving. Building that strength takes work, though. It takes being honest with yourself about the voices you've been listening to. Sometimes the loudest toxic voice isn't out there. It's in here, in your own head. The voice that says, "You're not good enough, you'll never make it, who do you think you are?" To build real strength, you have to challenge that voice every single day. You replace it with truth. I am capable. I am worthy. I am not what they say about me. And you repeat that truth until it becomes louder than the lies. And let me tell you, toxic people can sense when you've built that kind of strength. They can feel it. It's like standing in front of a brick wall. They can throw their words, their attitudes, their negativity at you, but it just bounces off. Because you no longer respond the way you used to. You no longer break the way you used to. You've outgrown the chaos they thrive on. One of the greatest things about building inner strength is that it changes the way you carry yourself. You walk differently. You speak differently. You don't argue with fools. You don't waste time explaining yourself to people who are committed to misunderstanding you. You learn the power of silence, the power of walking away, the power of choosing peace over proving a point. That's real strength, not fighting every battle, but knowing which ones are worth your energy and which ones deserve your silence. And here's the beautiful thing. When you become unshakable on the inside, your life starts attracting different people on the outside. Healthy people, supportive people, people who don't feel threatened by your growth but inspired by it. You stop living in survival mode and start living in purpose mode. So yes, step 1 is deciding what you won't tolerate. But step 2, building unshakable inner strength. That's what keeps you standing when the tests come. Because they will come. The storms, the critics, the setbacks, they always do. But when your roots are deep, when your spirit is steady, when you know who you are and whose you are, the winds can blow as hard as they want, and you will not fall. There comes a moment when you realize not every battle is yours to fight. Not every argument needs your reply, and not every person deserves a front row seat in your life. And that moment, that quiet, life-changing moment, is when you learn the power of walking away. Not in anger, not in revenge, not to prove a point, but in peace. In strength, in self-respect. You see, toxic people feed on reaction. They want your energy, your attention, your frustration. They thrive on keeping you tangled in their web of drama and control. The more you explain yourself, the more you try to prove yourself, the tighter their grip becomes. But the second you walk away, not with hate in your heart, but with clarity in your soul, they lose their power over you. Walking away doesn't mean you're weak. In fact, it takes more courage than staying in the fight. Because we humans, we crave resolution. We want people to understand our side. We want them to admit they were wrong. We want closure. But toxic people don't play by those rules. They rewrite the story, twist the facts, make you question your sanity. That's why walking away is so powerful. It denies them the ending they're trying to control. I remember hearing a story about a man who spent years trying to win over a father who constantly belittled him. Every achievement, every milestone, the father found a way to tear it down. The son kept coming back, hoping one day the words would change. They never did. One day, after another round of criticism, the son quietly walked out, not in anger, not slamming doors, just done. He stopped explaining, stopped defending, stopped hoping for what was never coming, and for the first time in his life he felt free. Because the chains weren't on his father's words, they were on his need for approval. That's what walking away does. It cuts the chains, but here's the thing. Walking away isn't always physical. Sometimes it's emotional, mental. It's choosing not to engage in the same arguments. It's refusing to carry the same guilt. It's letting go of the picture in your head of how things should be and accepting them for what they are. You might still see those people at work, in your family, in your neighborhood. But inside, something shifts. They no longer get access to the deepest parts of you. They don't get to dictate how you feel about yourself. You set boundaries not to keep them out, but to keep your peace in. And oh, the freedom that comes with it. The moment you stop trying to fix people who don't want to be fixed, stop chasing people who keep running, stop explaining yourself to people committed to misunderstanding you, your soul gets lighter, you sleep better, you laugh again, because you've finally realized their chaos is not your responsibility. Now, some people will call you cold for walking away. They'll say you've changed. They'll act like you betrayed them. But here's the truth. They only say that because your absence exposes what they were taking from you all along. And if someone's love or respect for you depends on you tolerating disrespect, it was never love or respect to begin with. I've learned this in my own life. Peace is expensive. It costs you your pride, your explanations, sometimes even your relationships. But the price of staying where you're constantly disrespected, drained, or belittled, that cost is far higher. That cost is you, and you, my friend, are too valuable to keep paying that price. Walking away teaches you something else too. Not every space you leave needs to be filled. Sometimes the silence that follows is where you heal. Sometimes the distance you create is where you finally hear your own voice again. And sometimes, when you walk away from the wrong people, you make room for the right ones to walk in. So don't be afraid to leave the table where respect is no longer being served. Don't be afraid to exit the conversation that keeps going in circles. Don't be afraid to step back from the people who only show up to drain you. Because walking away isn't the end, it's the beginning of protecting the peace you fought so hard to find. When you walk away from toxic people, when you finally stop dancing for their validation, you find yourself standing in a place that feels strange at first. It's quiet, lonely even, because for so long you measured your worth through their eyes. You believed their applause meant you were enough, and their silence meant you were failing. But here's the truth. If you live for approval, you will die by rejection. The only way forward, the only way to build a life that truly belongs to you, is to choose growth over approval every single time. Growth is messy, it's uncomfortable. It demands sacrifices that approval will never ask of you. Because approval keeps you small, keeps you safe, keeps you trapped in the version of yourself that makes everyone else comfortable. Growth breaks things. It breaks habits, breaks patterns, sometimes even breaks relationships. And that's why it scares people. Because when you start growing, you stop fitting into the boxes they built for you. I remember a young man I mentored years ago. Talented, gifted, full of fire. But he was surrounded by people who only clapped when he stayed the same. The moment he started dreaming bigger, reading books, waking up early, working on his craft, they called him arrogant, said he was changing, and he almost stopped, almost shrank back into the version of himself that kept everyone else comfortable. But one day he said to me, "If I keep waiting for their approval, I'll die in the same place I was born." That was the day everything changed. Because here's the thing, people who don't want to grow will always resent the ones who do. They'll call your progress pride. They'll call your ambition selfishness. They'll twist your elevation into betrayal. But what they're really feeling is fear. Fear that your growth will expose their excuses. Fear that your courage will highlight their complacency. And you cannot let their fear become your ceiling. Choosing growth means you stop asking for permission to evolve. You stop waiting for everyone to understand your vision. Some people won't get it because they were never supposed to go where you're going. Some people won't clap because they can't control the new version of you. And that's okay. Growth is not a conference call. It's a personal journey. It requires you to look in the mirror and say, "I choose me. I choose better. I choose to outgrow the limits they tried to put on me." But growth isn't just about career or success. It's about healing the parts of you that kept tolerating less than you deserved. It's about breaking the cycle of people pleasing, about learning to sit with discomfort instead of running back to what's familiar. Because toxic people aren't always loud and cruel. Sometimes they're charming and convenient. Sometimes they're the easy place to run back to when growth feels lonely. But every time you go back, you shrink a little more. Every time you settle, you teach yourself that comfort matters more than becoming who you were meant to be. Choosing growth over approval will test you. It will make you walk alone sometimes. It will make you question yourself on the hard days. Because the people you leave behind will talk. They'll call you selfish, distant, ungrateful. They'll build stories about why you change. But let them talk. Noise dies down. Growth speaks louder. And one day, when you look back, you'll realize the approval you were chasing was never worth it. The people clapping the loudest weren't always the ones helping you climb. The people criticizing the most weren't the ones building anything themselves. And the peace you feel, the freedom of becoming everything you were created to be, that was the reward all along. So yes, choose growth, even when it costs you friendships, even when it makes you the villain in someone else's story, even when you have to walk alone for a while, because at the end of the day, approval fades, opinions change, but growth will take you places small minds could never imagine. And when you stand there, free, whole, unshaken, you'll know it was worth every step. When you've cut off what drains you, built strength no storm can shake, learned to walk away in peace, and chosen growth over the need for applause, there comes a point where you stop living on defense and start living on purpose. Because all the boundaries, all the healing, all the lessons, they're not just so you can survive. They're so you can finally live. fully, boldly, unapologetically. You see, toxic people lose their power the moment you stop making them the center of your story. As long as you keep replaying the pain, the betrayal, the negativity, they still own a piece of your mind. But when you wake up every day and decide, my life is bigger than what they did to me, my dreams are louder than their doubts, my calling is stronger than their criticism, that's when everything shifts. Living with unapologetic purpose means you no longer shrink to fit the room. You no longer quiet your voice to keep the peace. You no longer put your dreams on the shelf so someone else can feel comfortable. No, you stand tall in who you are, and you stop apologizing for it. I once met a woman who spent years dimming her light because the people around her said she was too much, too ambitious, too passionate, too confident, so she toned herself down, played small, tried to fit in, but she was miserable because inside she knew she was meant for more. One day she said, "Why am I apologizing for being who I was created to be?" And from that moment on, she stopped asking for permission. She wrote the book, started the business, spoke on stages. The same people who told her she was too much, they ended up asking her for advice, because purpose has a way of turning your critics into spectators. But here's what you have to understand. Living with purpose doesn't mean life gets easier. It means you finally have a reason big enough to keep going when it gets hard. Because it will get hard. You'll face days when the old voices come back, when fear tries to creep in, when people still don't understand you. But purpose, real, burning, unapologetic purpose, will push you through the nights when nothing makes sense. And let me tell you something about toxic people. They can't stand someone who lives with purpose, because purpose makes you unshakable. Purpose makes you stop chasing gossip, stop wasting time, stop getting pulled into drama that doesn't matter. Purpose puts your eyes on the horizon while they're still busy staring at the ground. That's why they fall away. Not because you hate them, but because you've outgrown the games they play. Living with unapologetic purpose also means you become intentional about what and who gets your energy. You stop saying yes out of guilt. You stop chasing things that don't align with your calling. You learn that every no to distraction is a yes to destiny. And slowly, your life starts to fill with people and opportunities that match where you're going, not where you've been. I won't lie to you, this step takes courage. It takes courage to look around and realize some relationships can't go where you're going. Some habits can't survive the next level of your life. Some mindsets have to die so new ones can be born. And yes, people will talk. They'll call you obsessed, focused, different. Wear that like a badge of honor, because it means you finally stopped living for their comfort and started living for your calling. And here's the best part. When you live with unapologetic purpose, you become a light for others still stuck in the dark. People watch you walk away from the noise, build your strength, choose growth, and suddenly they start to believe they can do it too. Your life becomes the proof that it's possible. So don't you dare apologize for becoming everything they said you couldn't be. Don't you dare shrink because someone else lacks the courage to grow. Live loud, live bold. Live with a purpose so big, so clear, so unstoppable, that toxic people realize they can't touch you anymore. You've outgrown the chaos, you've stepped into destiny, and from here on out you're not looking back, because it does. Your peace is your oxygen. It's the thing that keeps you sane in a world that never stops pulling at you. And after everything you've been through, after cutting ties with what drained you, building strength, walking away from chaos, choosing growth, and living with unapologetic purpose, you come to a realization. None of it will last if you don't protect your peace like it's sacred, because it is. See, life will always come with noise. The world won't suddenly get quiet just because you found clarity. People will still have opinions. Challenges will still show up uninvited. There will still be days when everything feels too heavy. That's why you have to guard your peace like a soldier guarding the gates of a city. Not with anger, not with fear, but with wisdom. Protecting your peace means learning the power of no without guilt attached. It means not explaining yourself to people who never intended to understand you in the first place. It means refusing to let every text, every comment, every piece of gossip pull you back into the storm you fought so hard to escape. I remember meeting a man who told me he had finally cut toxic people out of his life. He was proud of it. But then he let new people in, people who looked different but acted the same. Before he knew it, the same chaos had different faces. Because it wasn't enough to remove the old voices. He had to protect the space they left behind. He had to learn that peace isn't something you find once. It's something you defend every single day. And here's the hard truth. Some of the battles you fight for your peace will be against yourself. The overthinking, the worrying, the habit of replaying old conversations in your head at 2 a.m., the temptation to run back to familiar chaos because peace feels too quiet. Protecting your peace means learning to sit with that quiet, to breathe in it, to let it heal you instead of running back to what broke you. It also means being intentional about what you feed your mind. The music you listen to, the shows you watch, the conversations you entertain. All of it either protects your peace or poisons it. Some people wonder why they feel anxious, heavy, restless all the time, but they spend hours scrolling through negativity, comparing themselves to strangers online, soaking in drama like it. Entertainment, protecting your peace sometimes means turning it all off, sitting in silence, reading something that feeds your soul instead of drains it. And yes, some people won't understand this new version of you. They'll say you've changed because you don't answer every call, because you don't join every argument, because you protect your time and energy like it's gold. Let them talk. Peace will always look like arrogance to people who thrive on chaos. But when you protect your peace, something amazing happens. You start to hear yourself again. Your ideas get clearer. Your relationships get healthier. Your body feels lighter because peace is power. It gives you the strength to face life without feeling like you're drowning in it. This doesn't mean you isolate yourself from the world. It means you stop letting the world dictate your emotions. You learn to pause before reacting. You learn to pray, to breathe, to journal, to walk away when necessary. You learn that not every comment needs a reply. Not every invitation needs a yes. Not every opinion deserves space in your head. And slowly, you realize peace isn't found in the absence of problems. It's built in the middle of them. It's the calm you carry inside you when everything around you feels like it's falling apart. That calm is what toxic people can't stand, because they can't control someone who doesn't rise to their chaos. So protect your peace with boundaries, with discipline, with faith, because at the end of the day, your peace is your life. It's your clarity, it's your freedom. And once you have it, really have it, you'll never trade it again for the drama, the noise, or the approval of people who never deserved a seat at your table in the first place. There comes a point in this journey where you realize all the pain, the lessons, the boundaries, the growth. It wasn't just for you. It was shaping you into someone others could look to when they feel stuck in the same chaos you escaped. Because when you rise above the noise, when you learn to protect your peace, when you choose growth over approval and purpose over fear, you become the proof that it can be done. And the world doesn't need more echoes repeating the same pain. It needs examples showing a better way forward. Becoming the example means you stop hiding your scars. You stop pretending it was easy. You stop acting like you were always this strong. Because people connect to your story more than your success. They need to know you cried some nights. They need to know you almost gave up. They need to know you were broken before you were built. Because when you share the truth of the journey, someone out there whispers, if they made it through that, maybe I can too. I remember a man who spent years letting toxic people define him. Teachers told him he wasn't smart enough. Friends told him his dreams were too big. Family said he was wasting his time. He believed them until one day he didn't. He started reading, started praying, started cutting off the voices that didn't speak life into him. Slowly, he built a business. Slowly, he healed. Years later, he went back to his old neighborhood, not to show off, not to say, I told you so, but to mentor kids who were hearing the same lies he once believed, because he knew the power of becoming the example. That's what this step is about. It's about taking everything you've learned, the boundaries, the strength, the purpose, and letting it overflow into the lives around you. Because the truth is, toxic people multiply when nobody stands up and says no more. But healing multiplies too. Courage multiplies. Freedom multiplies. When one person breaks the cycle, others see it's possible. Becoming the example doesn't mean you're perfect. It doesn't mean you have all the answers. It means you live with integrity. It means you refuse to go back to the chaos you left behind. It means you carry yourself in a way that says, I've been through fire and I didn't come out empty-handed. And here's something powerful. When you become the example, the same people who doubted you, mocked you, even hurt you, some of them will come back, not to apologize, but to ask how you did it. And you'll have a choice. You can stay bitter, or you can use your story to lift them too. Because hurt people, but healed people heal people. The world is full of echoes. Social media, gossip, negativity. It just keeps repeating the same noise. But examples, real, living, breathing examples of courage, growth, peace, and purpose, those are rare. Those are the people who change families, communities, even generations. And you can be one of them. But here's the key. You can't become the example if you keep going back to the old version of yourself. You can't become the example if you water down your story to make other people comfortable. You can't become the example if you spend your life trying to prove yourself to the same people who once cheered for your failure. Becoming the example means you own your story. You speak life where others speak death. You set boundaries where others settle for chaos. You choose healing where others choose bitterness. You live in such a way that people can point to your life and say, because they made it, I believe I can too. So rise up. Not just for you, not just to silence the critics. Rise up because someone is watching you, hoping you'll prove it's possible to walk away from the noise and build a life filled with peace, purpose, and power. Be the reason someone else believes in second chances. Be the proof that what tried to break you didn't win. Because at the end of the day, echoes fade, but examples live on. They light the way for those still lost in the dark. And you, my friend, were born to be the light.